And in this half hour, we're staying in Granby because Pierre Beauregard, who is from that town, is headed to Lake Placid this week. Slow and steady wins the race for him. The 47-year-old athlete has been highlighted for his unique training philosophy and his decision to walk instead of run the 42.2 kilometers of his Ironman triathlons. Sunday will mark his 9th year taking part in Ironman Lake Placid. Not only will he walk the distance of a full marathon, 42.2 kilometers, he'll also bike 180 kilometers and swim 3.8 kilometers for the 9th consecutive year. This year, he was personally invited to participate in the race by an organizer, and he joins us over the phone this morning from Montreal. Good morning.
Good morning, Allison. I'm so excited by this introduction. That sounds good. Are you talking about me?
I am indeed talking about you. I'm pretty excited to be speaking with you because I've never spoken with anybody who has well, first off, biked 200 kilometers to get to an Ironman triathlon, or who has walked the whole foot portion of that race. So I'm excited to find out why. But first of all, I wanted to ask you you've been personally invited to participate at the Lake Placid Ironman, and I wonder what it means for you to have that invitation extended.
It's something that's so incredible to have received that invitation, because that happened last year when I left Montreal. Actually, I'm leaving today, right, to get to Lake Placid today and tomorrow. Those 2 days of biking are today and tomorrow. And last year, exactly 1 year ago, I message someone who became a friend of mine. He's in the organization, and he was the executive director of the Ironman Foundation. And he texted me back saying, "You're still doing that thing, coming down on your bike from Montreal. I love that so much. You're crazy, and I'd like to provide you with your entry for next year's Ironman." And I went crazy about that. It was so fantastic. So he invited me because of that special way that I approached that challenge. So I biked there, and then I hitchhiked around for the Thursday and Friday and Saturday morning. I hitchhiked back and forth from where I live, from where I stay, about 25 kilometers away from Lake Placid. So it's very special to have received that invitation, especially because the man who invited me, his name is Dave Duchesne, the executive director of the Ironman Foundation. Actually, he's the former executive director of the Ironman Foundation. He's not there anymore. He changed the organization this year, but he didn't know that I had prepared a conference about that, because over the last 2 years I put the conference together, and he didn't know about that, and that the conference is about my approach. So that's what makes it so special.
And I understand, now that you have the invitation extended, you'll be able to save on the registration fees as well.
Well, that's what the invitation was about. There was nothing else. There was no other conditions. So he was inviting me. So this year, the registration fee are free for me. But over the fact that I made the translation. I made the conversion yesterday. It's nearly $900 that he made me save. But over that, no, it's not only that. It's the fact that he invited me based on that special approach. So it kind of made a seal of approval on all that approach that I have.
Now, tell me about your decision to cycle the 200 kilometers from Montreal to get to Lake Placid. Why would you do that before embarking on an Ironman triathlon?
My first Ironman in 2010, I decided I had the week before the Ironman, I had off. And I just decided to, I went on Google and I said, 200 kilometers, let's try it. And so I left. That first year, I had a little chariot. When you put kids behind your, when you put
les chariots, the little, as you say, the chariots behind the bikes.
Exactly. So that first year, I had a chariot behind my bike, and I had my camping gears in it, and I did that 200 kilometers. It was the toughest year doing that, but I loved it so much that the following year, I decided to go down a little bit earlier in Lake Placid, and about a month and a half prior to the Ironman, and I bring my camping gears to friends that I've made over the first year, a couple of years. So I bring my kit when I go down with a rented car, and I leave a kit there. So since 2011, I leave Montreal very light, and it's very easy. So I do about 100 kilometers today, about 100 kilometers tomorrow, but there's no pressure for those days. So it's like vacation. So I'm just making sure that my bike is in order, and when I get there, I have 3 days to rest. And there's no pressure. It's very easy.
Why do you choose to walk the running portion of the race?
That's a long story, and I'll try to make it short. In 2000, I made my first Ironman. It was a Dublin Ironman in Ireland. It was my first Ironman ever. And I was running, and a man, he was tall, but anyway, he was speed running. And about halfway, we were following each other for maybe 5 or 10 kilometers, and at one point, he just left me there. I mean, I couldn't keep up with him. So I finished my first marathon in Dublin in 2000 with that impression that if I do another marathon, I'll do it walking. So that's what happened in 2007. I did a second marathon, and I speed walked it. And I tried in 2009, 2010 to go back to running, but very, very fast I went back to speed walking. Running is very, very tough. I find it really, really tough. It's very technical, and there's always impact on every foot, every step you take. You have an impact. It's really tough on your joints. So I went back to speed running. So I speed walking. I went back to speed walking, and I walk between 7 and 10K an hour. These days it's more like 7K an hour. So it takes me about 6.5 hours to do the marathon, and it works.
How does speed walking? You said it takes 6 hours. How does that compare with somebody who would run it?
You have the very fast people that will run a marathon, and I mean the fastest ones they break 2 hours, I think, when they do only a marathon. In an Ironman, the marathon portion, I think that the fastest are somewhere around 3 hours, and at my speed, when I used to run about 10 kilometers an hour, so I would do a marathon between 4 and 5 hours. So if you compare me when I was running with me now, it would take me between 4 and 5 hours back then, and now it takes me between 6 and 7. So it's a 2 hour difference, maybe.
And
so it's manageable.
And I understand that your way to prepare for Ironmans and for these types of long distance races aren't necessarily the same that other people do. You don't even really use the word training. Can you? And as you were mentioning, you have made conferences about this as well. Can you tell me what goes into your preparation philosophy? You narrowed it down very, very perfectly. And if we had bumped into the word training in our interview so far, I would have mentioned it. I would have stopped you and say, "Whoops, there's something there that I consider that I never train." The way that I approach my preparation, I'm talking about preparation, and it's not organized. And I'm looking for excuses to go outside, to go play outside, and I'm looking for opportunities to get from one place to another. I'm talking about active transportation. So you mentioned that I'm from Granby, and right now I'm in Montreal. My girlfriend's in Montreal, so it takes me about 3 hours from Granby to the Jacques-Cartier Bridge. So as many times as I can, I do that distance on my bike or on my inline skates, because there's a long distance challenge that I do with inline skates. There is one with cross country ski, and then the Ironman.
So every time I have a chance to go play outside, every time I have a chance to go somewhere, to move from one point to another by my own means, by my body, then it's the way I prepare. And I don't own a car, so I have more and more reasons to move from one point to another by an active transportation.
Well,
if I need to rent a car, I rent one. If I need to hitchhike, I hitchhike. If I need to use public transit, I do. So, yeah.
It's so interesting to hear. It's a refreshing perspective on what I will not call training, but to prepare for these races. Pierre Beauregard, thank you for your time. Good luck with your Ironman and safe travels on your way down to Lake Placid this weekend.
Thank you very much, Allison, and it's been a pleasure.